Mr. Manuel, how are you doing, sir?
Good, Bernard. Good. Can't complain.
It's been a while since I've seen you. What's been new on your side?
Just working, nothing much. Little shooting. Time is something that's not on the side.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And then with kids,
especially if you've got kids, it's very difficult.
100%.
So daughter does ballet on a Friday and a Saturday. So Friday afternoon, mom's going to take her. She just actually got promoted to grade 1.
Okay.
Beginning of March. And so now it's Friday and Saturday I take her. So by the time you get home, then you're like, really, how do you put it? Just
yeah, no, I
you know, so it's still having to pack a bag and getting up to the range, and especially on a Saturday, the range is busy, man.
Yeah.
So you can just what's available, take what you get. You know, you're not always going to be able to do what you want to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I must be honest. I went down a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Not this past weekend, the weekend before. I think it was the last long weekend.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the ranges all set up for competition or whatever. So you I just had to shoot on the visitors' range.
Yeah, I see that's the problem with the Saturday at Falls Bay. You've got comps happening. So it's either SETPA, IPSC, Cowboy Boys. Who else is there? There's the clay shooters up at the top. And then you've got the day visitors coming in. And, you know, and they're busy doing a lot of work at the range. So it's very busy there. Unfortunately, I would love to go during the week, but it's not always possible. Sundays is also an option, but you know what? Sunday we're going to sleep in.
Yeah, and then they close at 1 o'clock.
Then they close at 1 o'clock. So you don't want to go. You don't want to get up too early and go too early. So like shooting is somewhat limited just to like when there's matches happening. So
right.
Like particularly league matches. I haven't done much club matches. But once again, it's time, you know. And the leagues. I think this weekend there's a Wipsa League, but we've shifted to Boland, so you know.
Right.
So there's the Boland leagues, and that's even hopefully by next year we'll have one at Falls Bay because we just moved this year, so they've already set the calendar for the year. So hopefully next year there'll be one at Falls Bay, then there'll be Kraaifontein, Somerset West. I know they said something like the Beaufort guys is like 4 of them, so they have these at Kraaifontein.
Okay.
Then there's going to Muscle Bay. So, yeah. But yeah, no, when I can, I do it. Otherwise, I must just sit at home. Do a bit of practice draws, do some grip work, do some dry fire. Although that is something that can't keep me occupied for too long. I know I encourage the guys that I do when I train them, do your dry fire. But it's also...
It's not that realistic.
It's not realistic, you know, in a certain sense. And yes, you've got the Steve Anderson dry fire program. So that's specifically tailored to the sport shooting guys. Okay, not that it can't it won't do anything for your shooting. There is a book out. I'm not sure what the title of the book is, but you know, one of my friends, he's been shooting for what, 30 odd years, and he's quite a good shooter, open gunner. He says, I can only dry fire so much also, you know. So the thing about the realism behind the dry fire is that you normally get, the way that we normally do it is you have rack, click, rack, click. So what happens is that you miss the second shot, you miss the recoil and the recovery. So with a dry fire, yes, cool. You can hold it on target, you can squeeze that trigger, it's perfect. Sights don't move, but then it differs from when you're going into live fire, where you have the recoil and you have the movement of the sights, whether it's up or down or backward and forward, and then recovering on that. So as far as I know, I haven't read this book, but there are drills for that as well. So, but you know, for a lot of people, dry fire is just repetitive. It doesn't. They get bored with it after the time. Let's put it that way.
I must be honest, when it comes to me and dry firing, it's like, it's the fact of like, now you got to make the line on that round, and now you got to put it out. So with ammo prices and whatever, it's
Yes.
So that's
the nice thing is if you have a second gun,
right,
then you can use the second gun, and that's what I basically do. So when I do take one of the other 9 mils out of the cupboard, safe, put in I've got 10 rounds of snap caps. So what I would do, I'd spread it between 2 mags.
Okay.
So I do 5 reps on the one racket, change the mag. At least when you're getting the mag change, the slingshot method, or using the slide release to drop it forward. So you can do some things. I mean, there's like you've got the Glock cube now that you can push it out of pushes it out of battery, and then you can you get that feel of the trigger repetitively. Look at that. It has its place. Some people do it all the time and they're perfect at it. Some people like myself will get bored with it after time, like yourself apparently, because this is the guy that started the training and then he. 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Well, that's actually a good segue into so maybe telling people a little bit more about yourself. I mean, I met you probably online through going through the firearm application process and joining on the GOSA page, seeing your name come up, and then
all the other pages
exactly, and then actually, chatting like that about my application, and then going on to actually doing a little bit of training. But more than that, obviously, so as you said, you pretty much, if I think about social media, especially Facebook, and I think of the firearm platforms or the groups or whatever, you're quite active in it, right? So maybe just let people know, a little bit more about you, how long you've been in the shooting game, how long you've been active on Facebook, for example, and then we can take it from there and then go into the FPC.
Yeah, so my first license was in 1996.
Okay.
No? 95. It was 2 months before. I got the license 2 months before I got engaged. I was married. Not sure for the first time. Anyway, so pretty much from about 95, and then around about 97, 98, I joined my first club. So what I used to do is I used to go like every weekend. 38 special, 5-shot Rossi. I carried like shitload of rounds. I had like 3-4 speed loaders. I had, belt slide. I had 3-4 drop pouches, 5-shot. Sorry to say, I was smarty boxing at the time. I had different types of hollow points, solids, and everything. Look, this was in the days when we didn't have internet and we didn't have readily available knowledge, and there weren't many instructors going around. So I joined the first club, and I just found it by accident. It was actually down the road from where I stayed, probably like 2 kilometers behind the traffic department in Ottawa, next to opposite suburban space. And that time it was a Defence Force range, and there was a civilian club there. They were doing ISSF, which was the Olympic shooting program. They had a little category for heavier caliber weapons, 38, 7.65 type of things, 9 mils, 4.4, all of those type of things. So through that, I started shooting with the ISSF, the 2.2. And believe me, that's a very good platform to start with. If you're looking at 25 meters precision shooting, I mean, that is pure, dry fire there will work you. I mean, that is what you need to do. You've got to do the same thing over and over and over. I mean, those years, I spoke to some guy in one of the gun shops, I can't remember, and he was in the Air Force at the time. And he said, when he started shooting this stuff, his shotgunning improved because it's a repetition, and it's doing the same squeeze, holding the sight steady. And I mean, we would shoot out to like 50 yards, which is just a little bit under 50 meters, which is actually an Olympic event, 50-meter free pistol.
Sure.
Those are those pistols with the long barrels.
Yeah.
And,
that they're doing now.
With the wraparound grips, long barrels, single shot. The match takes about 2 hours. And you get guys, and I qualified as an RO, and I would take provincial club matches. I even officiated at some national matches. In fact, that's another story. And we would take 2 hours to shoot that match.
Sure.
And I mean, to be able to shoot for 2 hours, and it's literally guys would come up, you'd come up and stand there for like 2-3 minutes lining the shot up. If it doesn't work, you drop it and you stand another 5 minutes. And then you go through that process over and over and over. Because we didn't have those specific type of ranges, we normally broke it down to like 3 20-minute slots of, 3 20 rounds per slot. Then you go and change your target and bring them in. In the Olympics, they've got, what do you call it, holographic sights.
Yes.
You stay for the entire 2 hours on that, on the
firing line.
On the firing line for 2 hours, and the guys are just putting it away. So it's very specialized. It's very highly competitive. I mean, the Swiss guys are doing well in it. The U.S. Army, U.S. Army Marksmanship Unit. These guys shoot everything. You got IPSC, SAP, Clays, ISSF. What else is there? Whatever it is, they shoot it. 3-gun nation, whatever. These guys, they specifically, that's all they do in that particular marksmanship unit. So that's where I started with. And then we went through a couple of phases where we started doing precision, what do people call high caliber, but we're talking now big bore pistols. So we're looking at minimum 38 special up to 45 bigger. And they called it something called WA 1500, which is something that came from Germany. So you essentially also about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. So all the IPSC race gun style stuff, but you're using predominantly revolver.
Okay.
So you've got these tricked out full bull barrels, or with weights, open sights, handgun at 50 meters with but it's specialized sights. So you've got like 4 settings on the sights, and you can set each one for 50, one for 25, one for like 15, one for like 20, whatever your distance is that you want. And these guys shoot like X's. There's a 10 and then there's an X. So there's a story of this guy in Germany. He pitches up to a match with the Smith & Wesson model 29 or something, but just base model 38 special. The match is out of 150 points, so it's 150 rounds, so each point counts 10. And he shoots for the entire match versus guys with tricked out race guns, 149 X's.
Sure.
And then he's upset because he missed the 1 X. But the X is a 10.
Right.
So the one that he missed was still a 10.
Yeah, exactly.
But he missed. He's angry because he missed that. And that he just comes with a standard, no frills, nothing. So we went through all of that. So the thing with the precision shooting, it actually improves your skill because you're concentrating on sight picture, you grip, squeeze. So you're doing the same thing over and over and over. And then for a while I was out of shooting, finances, work, etc., etc. And then I got back into it. But then I actually I got an opportunity to go overseas, work overseas, got paid in dollars, came home, bought guns.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's about the right thing. That was pretty much the reason. So I came out, bought guns, new guns. I was still in this with the club. I was a founder member. Eventually became a founder member of one of the clubs there. And the intention was better firearms so that I can participate because that's my club, my sport. I got the guns and said, wait a minute, I can do IPSC with this. I had a rig, I had belts, I had all the rest kind of stuff because I had purchased most of that stuff for the W1500. So all I did was just get another holster for the 9mm. I had the mag pouches, bought the mag pouches and everything. Yeah, I think I had the mag pouches. Yeah, anyway. And that's how I got into IPC. That was around about 2018. Shot the first match. It was a steel challenge. I just walked in. I think it was CPBC. Shot the steel challenge. I said, I don't know anything. What's going on, please? No problem. Guys were awesome. Then they had another match, and I just walked in. I had no clue what was going on. And eventually I joined the club. They were like, who are you? They didn't know who I was, and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I got, they said, look, if you want to shoot with us, you need to join, the club, Western Province, SAPSA, and we need to test it to see if you got a skills test, passed the test. I mean, I've been shooting for a number of years.
Yeah.
I'm talking about since 95.
Yeah.
But then it was basically just whatever range I could find. Every Saturday I'd be driving around, 50 rounds every Saturday. I had these canvas haversacks full of toppies because the intention was that I went already, I'm going to start reloading because that was the way to go. And then obviously got into the club and the sport, and then that's how slowly built up over a period of time. It wasn't just something offhand, quickly here, all the cash, buy everything. The thing is, you don't know what you need when you're starting out. Right, so you're going to start out with whatever you have, and then from there you're going to learn from your club guys and from the guys that you compete with, and if you go to matches. So then you start seeing the kit that needs to come. So what I always hear from people sometimes, when they don't think I'm listening and we're on the range, let's just say it's a club training day or something, and you get people coming in and they checking us out and they see the nice fancy kit and how we shoot, and even on a match day, then I'll just say, no man, we can't compete here. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. If you're saying I can't compete here, then you already lost.
Right.
Yes, you can compete here, because all of that people there started like you started. They didn't know anything. They maybe had a CZ75 or a Taurus or a Lawson or whatever was available at that time. They started with that. And over time, as they grew in the sport, as they participated in the sport, they started seeing where they want to be, whether they want to be in open gun or production or standard or classic. And they got these things over time. It's never been a race. It's never going to be a race. It starts somewhere. So that's my message to guys that want to start shooting. Just start.
I must be honest.
Start.
You say that now. I think you got me onto the False Bay group, if I'm not mistaken. And I actually spoke to Keith. And I mean, the first question he was like, okay, what do you have? And what would we need to provide you with? Like, what do you have? Oh no, you got a Glock. Okay, cool. There's about 10 other guys that have Glocks. For example, Jason's out there. He's like, well, look, you can borrow a holster or whatever. So I mean, I'm still keen on getting that, but I still want to finish that course with you. That's why I asked you the other day.
Not a problem. We will sort that out. Look, when you talking about the course, it's not fancy stuff. It's not the MDW or lone operator or it's what you need to know to learn how to shoot.
Correct.
It's basically, I'm just teaching you how to shoot, because your 40 rounds at your competency is not teaching you how to shoot. Yes, you can put your 40 rounds down at 7 or 10 meters within that on that A3 and you pass. That's the requirement. Anybody can do that. My wife did it. She wasn't happy, but I was standing there when she did a competency, and she was doing it with Marvin, and she had, I think there was a Glock 75 and a PO7. And she actually shot well with the PO7. But she put it, I mean, she had a 40 round, she shot, and it was well. And she's like, not good. I said, but that's good enough. You did it. Then I took her after that for going for some training. And I put the target up at 3 meters. She said, no, I wanted to go back. I said, no. She did a circle. that small circle, you can put 5 in there. But then the pressure was too much because it dropped one. I'll put it back. I said, no, you can only go back once you put all 5 in. But also again, time, kids, it's very difficult for me to take out. I mean, she's got a comp. I just need to transfer. I have to give her one of my guns. But anyway, that's another thing. So what the course is, it's just there to teach you, to get you into the basics. The thing is, yes, it's 8 hours. I've looked at it and tried different fashions, and it's 8 hours. For 6 hours, whole day from about 8:30 to about 4, normally 150 rounds, and you're pretty much just shooting at 3 meters. But the idea is for you to put that 5 shots per inside that 10 ring. Doesn't have to be 1 hole. And it's just repeating the basics.
Right.
It's your side picture. It's your grip, your trigger squeeze. I mean, many guys come to the range and they're shooting all over the place. And I say, just do this with your grip. And it's immediate improvement.
So, I mean,
from like that to like that.
I mean, I can relate to that. I remember that was pretty much the only lesson that we did. And I have been practicing, sir. That was my latest target that I submitted. So that's 5 at 7. So
that's good.
So that's just grip, slow, and obviously
that's nice.
It's about the now for me. We've not worked on trigger press. We've not worked on anything else, So that's obviously where I am. I mean, I'm confident now in presenting and getting that first round off, But it's about now where's that follow-up breaking down, because that's something that you can't see.
You can't see.
Like you can't see it. Somebody else has to.
Somebody else has, and that's the thing about training.
Right.
We've got this tendency or this macho thing of, I'm a guy, I need to know how to shoot from the minute I come out of the birth canal. I need to know. This is my thing. It doesn't work that way. Like anything, shooting is a skill. It's a skill that actually degrades.
100%.
It's a degradable skill. Although at a certain level where you maybe you've done it for like 10 years, repetitively every single day or every single weekend, you could say it's like getting back on a bicycle.
Sure.
But it can't be that you started shooting now for maybe 6 months and then let it go for 5 years. That's not enough time. We're looking at the level.
I was in the army.
Yeah, I was in the army in 1979, and we only fired R5s. R1s. They don't do pistol shooting in the army. There's no emphasis on pistol handling. Yes, you maybe get to shoot 5-10 rounds because you need to qualify in a weapon, but that's not your primary weapon. At that point in time, your primary weapon is your R1 rifle or R4 or R5, whatever you're getting issued with. Although the skills interrelate and can...
I mean, maybe as far as like side picture and trigger press slightly.
And the thing is, the rifle is probably easier to shoot because you got a lot more, you've got 4 points of contact. You've got the cheek, you've got the foregrip, you've got your palm, you've got the shoulder. So it's a lot more stable shooting your rifle than with shooting your handgun, whether you're going to shoot one-handed or whether you're going to shoot with your left hand or whether you're going to shoot with 2 hands. So I actually find IPSC shotgun more fun than handgun. I bloody enjoy my IPSC shotgun. Shooting a shotgun match. It's way fun. I've actually got a YouTube, my own YouTube channel where I practice reloading. I haven't put up much content since last year because I was ill, and then you just tired and you get home from work. So all my videos from shotgun matches, I try mainly get shotgun match videos, and then I'll put it onto the channel. So hopefully next week will be a shotgun match. So when I get back,
maybe that's maybe talk a little bit. So one of the questions a lot of people have, especially on the before getting a firearm, right? It's the question you always see is, guys, I want to get a firearm. What must I get? And then the follow-up question is generally, what do you want to use it for, right? And then you have the self-defense camp, and we'll talk a bit about that. But I think because there's still a mindset of people thinking like it's easier to get firearms for sport shooting. I mean, they think that.
No, I think that.
But so then that's always the next thing.
Yeah.
No, I want to do sport shooting. But what? Right? So are you able to break down, say, the different disciplines? I know you shoot IPSC, but there's a couple of other ones that people can get into.
Look, it all depends on.
Let's just talk maybe pistol for now.
Okay, pistol. So in pistol, you got your IPSC, you got your IDPA, and then the ISSF, WA 1500, NPA. Those three are like under the South African Pistol Federation.
Okay.
Right? That is, they're actually having their nationals right now. Okay. So that club was the club that I didn't join them. Me and the chairperson, in fact, he's the chairperson of the SAP of South African Pistol Federation. We joined the club that was there. And then we broke away and we formed our own club. So you've got your .22 pistols, which are specialized pistols, and it's not easy getting them. Okay. So if you want to do the Olympic shooting program, you're going to be prepared to pay some money. You're actually going to have to look at importing those firearms because there's not many people that actually
just generally
carry it in stock. Okay. So you can Google ISSF, right? So that's the .22 category. In there's also air pistols, right? So it's all precision shooting, air pistols. Not even when I started out, trying to find those things was like hen's teeth. The only way you're gonna get one is secondhand from the guy that is now retiring.
Right.
I'm done with shooting. Yeah. I can't, whatever the reasons, I can't, up early, drive through to Montague, every type of thing. And he's selling his guns. So if you're in that environment, you might hear of somebody. I mean, the community is very small. They're not a very big group of shooters. I mean, there's the 1 year SA marksman in Ottery. There's Belleville, and there used to be Cape Pistol Club, which is where Shukukai is using the range. Because the last time I went to one of the matches, there was one guy from the Cape Town Pistol Club that was alive. He was the last man standing of the club. And they've been around for a long time. So that's one discipline within a discipline.
So that's pretty much stand on the firing line,
targets up, 25 meters, 50 meters, single-handed shooting, body positioning. You've got all of these fancy glasses and scopes and things. So that's your .22 caliber pistols. So Google ISSF, guys, if you're looking at that. Then within that discipline, precision pistol, let's call them precision pistol. You've got what they call NPA. Now, NPA is basically also target shooting, but you're using minimum caliber 32. So 7.65, 6.35, those would be like pocket pistols or vest pistols. And then you've got, they've got a discipline called police pistol. Police pistol A and police pistol B. Police pistol A is 9mm only.
Okay.
Police pistol B is all calibers. 9mm, 38 special, 357, 44. You can still shoot a 9mm. So basically a guy's got a 9mm and a 38. So you've got two guns for one event. So these guys have got a gun for every event. Right? So police pistol, I'm just going to give a quick breakdown. It is 25 meters. You're firing 12 rounds in 2.5 minutes or 2 minutes. Can't remember exactly. At 25 meters. The target faces away, turns, you fire 12 shots, time's up. You move forward to 15 meters. You fire 2 strings of 6 shots. Right? So the target faces you for 2 seconds and then turns away. So you're standing at 45 degrees, gun pointed down, target, come up, fire a shot. So you got about 3 seconds. You do that twice. Then you go to 10 meters and you're firing 6 shots, 3 facings of the target. So you're doing 2 shots in 3 seconds. That's double taps. So it's not a, how shall I say, a realistic representation of a gunfight if you're looking at self-defense. But it teaches you skills.
Right.
That you need to shoot.
I can imagine that it must be, because, I mean, that's what I've been trying to practice. So that's kind of as far as we got, was like, okay, now present 2 rounds, right? And that second round takes some effort.
It takes effort.
It takes some effort to get that, effort. To get, you know, especially if you're not white knuckling it, which kind of then comes with its own thing.
Own problems, because now you start, so you're shaking it and you think that you actually have it lined up, but it's actually that deviation, that squeeze of your trigger, and you're squeezing too tight, it deviated slightly. And like I said, always, like I always tell you, what I tell all the guys that I was training, that is that Jonathan now? That what's important is what happens on that target tells you volumes of what you're doing on the center.
100%. Jonathan, can you hear us?
I can.
Hey, fantastic.
Finally.
I have to apologize for the lack of camera, but one, I am not presentable, having just come back from CrossFit. And 2, I don't have a webcam for my desktop.
Do you see, this is the thing with the CrossFit guys. How do you know they do CrossFit?
They must tell you.
I'm just glad he's not vegan on top of it as well. And I'll be hearing CrossFit and vegan all the time. I'm glad
you have full permission to euthanize me if I ever go that way.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we were just talking about, different types of sport shooting, particularly pistol. So
I think the big question is, what is IPSC? You know, and what is the difference between IDPA? Because that's kind of, I see there's 2 camps, you know. Like somebody once said to me that IDPA is slow, IPSC
is fast. Then you've got to add on the USPSA.
Okay.
That's only shot in the US.
Right.
Okay, from the videos I see, you've got the stage laid out, and they just run all over the place. IPSC, you've got a lane or you've got a demarcated area, and you stay in that demarcated area. And you move along and you fire at targets, paper, steel, moving targets, swinging targets that come up and disappear. We're talking
ones that you must knock down.
Poppers. If you knock down a popper, it flips open a swinging target. And then there's a nice one where you shoot the popper, it knocks, you got a clamshell. So your target comes up, and then as you're firing at the target, you've got the other one coming up. So like a clamshell.
Right.
But depending on how it's set, it will come quickly or fast. Sometimes there's still maybe so much of the target left behind that you could maybe get it in. We're looking at that probably 10, 15 meters maybe if they want to really make it difficult for you. So IPSC is practical shooting, also known as combat shooting.
Okay.
Right? That's the old name. So obviously in this PC world, changed it. So in Europe it's IPSC, the Americans had it as combat shooting. And I think they also shoot IPSC, but their predominance is the USPCSA. They've got their own rules. Similar. It's not entirely exactly the same. IPSC, your maximum stage is 32 rounds.
Okay.
Minimum that I've shot has been 9 rounds. And it's set up any way you can imagine.
So maybe tell me a little bit about the rules, because I'm not interested. So it's a case of, is there
a lot of rules? It's like 300 odd pages. That's technical stuff.
Okay, let me ask the question then. So is there a set amount of rounds that you are allowed to use per stage? So let's say there's a stage that's got X amount of targets, and you capped at, you can use 20 rounds or 15 rounds.
You're not capped at the amount of rounds.
Okay.
Your stage is set up for X amount of rounds.
Okay.
So you have a 20 round stage.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to try and get it as basic as possible. When you're shooting a paper target, it's 2 shots per target. Okay. The scoring zones is Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. Then there's still some sub nuances in there. We'll try and get to that. And then your plates, either falling over, small plates, large plates, are 5 points. Your alpha is 5 points. And depending on what you're shooting, then you've got major and minor. Your major will be Charlie 4 points and your delta 3 points. Yes. In minor, your alpha stays 5, your Charlie becomes 3, and your delta becomes 2 points. So if you're shooting something like standard division, where you can use a firearm 5-inch barrel, let's use a Glock 34 for example, it's got 17 round magazine. You can put mag wells on, you can put grip tape on. 17 round mag, it's got to fit in a box, so you can't come here with a 30 round happy stick, but you can use 17 rounds. 17 plus 1 in the gun is 18, but it's 9 more, right? You're shooting standard minor, so it's going to be 5.32. I come along with a Glock 40 caliber. That's major.
Okay.
I've got maybe only 15 rounds because it's obviously the size of the rounds. I've got to do more mag changes than you.
I get it.
But now my score is 5.43. So I can shoot Charlie's all day and I can still beat you. But IPSC is not just about the points. It's time and speed. So the way they work it out is the time that you take to shoot your stage and your scoring points. So there's penalties involved. If you miss a target and you don't take a follow-up shot, which is time. Every shot is time. It's about 3 seconds, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't gone into the math part of it. That's 5 point penalty because you've missed 5 points and 10 points. There's things called no shoots, basically maybe white targets or cross targets, where it's the same penalty. You hit 2 no shoots in a match, you can forget about, or a stage, you can forget about getting a heat factor. So it's a division of time over your points. You get your heat factor percentage, and that is how they score it. So it sort of keeps everybody in the level. But you can shoot standard. There's arguments for shooting standard minor and still shooting standard major. Major 40 caliber, heavy on the gun, maybe not as easy to get ammunition. Minor 9mm, heavier recoil, slower follow-up shots, lighter recoil, quicker follow-up shots. Then there's a minimum power factor that you need to reload for. You can't just come and have toppies like falling next to you. There's got to be a certain power factor, minimum being 125. Most guys would load for like 10 points more, 135, 136, which gives them a gap to play with. So if you're shooting at higher altitudes, then you at least will pass equipment check. The same with your major caliber. It's heavier. So there's arguments pro and con. There's pros and cons for shooting both. Obviously with a minor, the points is higher, whereas with a major, the points is lower, which means that you should shoot all alphas. It's not impossible. It takes a lot of practice, and it will take a lot of rounds, a lot of range time to get to that level to put 9mm minor. To actually, I've seen guys beat minor guys beat major guys, but they shoot fast, they shoot accurate. Some of them even take a mic and still win you. Okay, so that's IPSC. That's just one division. Then there's race gun, open gun, and then there's classic, your 45. Either you're gonna do classic major, which is 45, your 1911 style guns. Doesn't necessarily have to be a 1911. But a 1911 style in 45, you're limited to number of rounds per magazine, and then or you can either do classic major, which is your 4.5, or classic minor, which is your 9mm. I think they are limited to 10 round mags. whereas classic 45 is 8 round mags, because standard for 1911 was about 8 rounds, 7 or 8 rounds. Then production, which is where most people is going to start. Majority is going to start at production. It's your G19, your PO7, even the PO9, all your production, the common guns that you're going to buy. Whether it's a 320 or whatever the case may be. So when coming back to the question of what must I buy and I want to get into sport, you're going to buy a Glock 19. Why? Because, it's common. You're going to your spares, you got to think about your spares. You got to think about mags, mag costs. My guns, mags, 1,700 versus Glock mags. You can use a Beretta 92, the new 92s. I've seen Zaahir Manuel. He's actually the SAPSA development officer. That guy runs a 92. When he comes, we know we're not going to win. This guy is, he's got his colors and everything, and he's a super nice guy, and I've shot 1 or 2 matches with him already. But I mean, he's good. He runs a Beretta 92.
Yeah.
So when you got what must I buy? Think of availability of space, especially if you're thinking of doing it as for sport. Availability of space.
Availability of holsters.
Look, you can get those things you can get. We've got our own local guys, Rescomp, most of the guys that run their stuff. The speed holsters, the mag pouches, the rigs. Look, there's other stuff, double alpha and all those things that you're probably going to have to bring in. But once again, this is things for further down the line. Okay?
Yeah, get the skills first.
You know what? It's pointless you're going to start, I want to buy a STI, race gun, tutti frutti, scopes and everything, and you can't run the damn thing. You don't know how to shoot. That's for later. That's for maybe 10, 15 years down the line in your shooting career. Start with production, your Glock 19. I'm stopping here. I can't get any further. Guess what? You put on a bloody red dot. You got the production optics. So it's always, so when the guy says, what do they want? What must I buy? Glock 19. That's your most common gun. Look, if you want to buy something else, it's entirely up to you. Mechanics range coming out. Big guys are running to mechanics. They seem to. In fact, my one friend, he's like number 4 in Western Province for production optics. He's top 10. Let's put it that way. Top 10, and he normally ends up like top 6. Always. That's about constantly visiting. He can be number 1 also. He got rid of his Glocks and he bought a Canic.
I must be honest, those Canics, man.
Production optics.
They are like what you get in the box for the price is nice.
What you're getting is.
I think, now if I had to do the whole process over, I would have done so many things differently. Look, I mean, I think I put my down payment on my pistol in 2020, just before COVID hit here in SA, and then I got my, the 271 form. Actually, no, I couldn't get it because they locked us down. So it was sitting at Stellenbosch. I had to get it couriered to my place when they allowed couriers.
Okay.
And then I could only put my application in July.
Yeah, when they
opened up again. But, I mean, so to come back to that question, because this was the next part, is so a lot of people will come and they'll be like, okay, I actually want to get it for self-defense, but I think it would be worthwhile to get into sport shooting. And this is where you were saying, use what you have. Use what you have, right? But if I could do it all over again, I would definitely look for something that was a little bit more modular. So what I mean by modular is something that maybe already comes with the optic cut, that's because again, this is South Africa, it takes a while, send the slide, blah, 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 all of that. Something goes wrong, then you start the whole application process all over again.
People don't like this, but the SIG 320 actually it's got a model that comes with the optic, the Romeo 1. That's the only gun I know of that comes with the optic already installed.
I think now the Glock, there's a Glock
17
40. No, it's the 40. You can get the 43X rail and the 48X rail with a optic. But then you're looking at like a 25K gun, you know. So
look. From what I know with the mechanics, it comes pre-cut.
Yes.
I think all of the models they come pre-cut.
Pre-cut night sights with holster,
with a holster, with
3 mags,
2 or 3 mags, with plates for the different types of optics. And you know what? If there's nothing wrong with putting an optic on your defensive gun.
No, I agree with you.
Because my eyes is going number one. Eyes is going, especially if you're like our age. Okay, you're young, much younger than me, I'm sure. Jonathan's even younger.
Jonathan's still alive.
I am.
I think he's taking a nap after the CrossFit. So, you know what? Besides the story of the eyes going, you've got one thing to look at.
Yeah.
When you are shooting optic, you've got one thing to concentrate on. If you're shooting normal standard irons, whatever you got to do, you got to line up front sight, between your rear sight, equal light, all of that stuff in that split second.
Yeah.
So you got to do a lot of repetitions to get it right all the time. From the holster, maybe it's either from a compressed presentation all the time, and then eventually working through the holster and that. And this is where the sporting comes in. Especially, I don't know much about IDPA. I didn't get to shoot that.
Yeah.
But it's probably similar. It's not going to get you killed in the streets. What you're doing there are drills.
Yes.
Right? That's not a gunfight. It's drills. It's building skills. I always say for myself, I say a stage is a problem that needs to be solved. Okay? Realistically, you're not going to be facing 5-6 guys and be able to stand in one place and do all of that. But you're building skills. You're throwing from the holster. Other club I was at, Sugarkai, we did a carry gun shoot from your concealed holster.
Sure. That's cool.
Okay, no fancy things. Everybody came with whether it was a 38 or a 45, you were shooting that, and you had to do whatever amount of mag changes for whatever amount of rounds per stage. Okay, so your IPSC, your sports shooting, whether you're doing the precision stuff, you are still improving a skill. Okay, which is your sight picture, grip, trigger press in precision shooting. The same with IPSC, the action type shooting.
You're just adding movement.
You're adding movement. You know what? You're finding out that what's a normal thing for guys to do? Go to the range, put up a target, 10 meters, stand there, isosceles triangle, boom, boom, boom. 50 rounds for the day, 100 rounds. Yes, you've practiced something. But now add movement to that. Add multiple targets, add small targets, add distance.
Add a timer.
And a timer, yes, that timer. Fuck. You've got the best range plan. Beep. Everything goes there. You see that? Gone. There, because at the end of the day, what happens? Your targets show you what you've done. You know? So with IPSC, it's not combat training. By far, it's not combat training. You're not using cover and concealment. You can see the targets through the barricades and stuff like that. Sometimes you don't have them. There's an infinity barricade going up, so you would imagine that. But that depends on the amount of range equipment you have. But at the end of the day, it's skills training. It's skills that you are improving. You're improving drawing from the holster. You're improving mag changes. You're improving. You're shooting 3 targets, 2, 4, 6. So it's recovery. It's cadence. It's going from one. You know, you'll have a target that's man height, and then the next target is down here, knee height, and then the third target is again in the middle. So you're moving from plane to plane.
So at first, I must be honest, I've like I say, I would do so many things differently. But I was also of the that mindset of going like, well, looking at the sport on YouTube generally, because never ever went to a club, never checked it out, but like, this is not realistic, man. This is not. But actually, it's like it's the reps, it's the reps, it's the doing the reps. You're not like we spoke about earlier on. Dry fire is the least realistic, right? Like you don't.
If you got nothing to do, you can do it.
Yeah,
and it will help you. Look, I'm not knocking dry fire.
Sure,
it will help you. It will improve.
But it's not
certain things. It's not the same as actually running a stage.
Yeah,
or doing live fire. You need them both together.
Yeah, and
you need them both together.
The great thing that from being on a club group, and I'm pretty sure it is the same because I'm also part of the Defence Force Club. I think as a outsider of the community, right? What was cool for me is to see how inviting people are, how open they are. Everybody's open to teach. And a similar thing happened with me when I started doing jiu-jitsu. Like my mind was always like, martial arts, ego, because everybody was the Karate Kid in the 80s.
And the Bruce Lee movies.
But there are realistic aspects to some stages. Depends on the club as well.
Sure, depends on the club.
And even actually universally across clubs, you're going to have a malfunction at some point. That's realistic.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're going to change magazines.
Yes.
That's unlikely to happen if you ever end up in a defensive scenario. But it's a pretty good thing to know about when you need it.
100%.
Because fumbling for your magazine, where is it? Oh no, it's backwards in the holster. Like no.
And that's like I was saying, that's the same argument with sports jiu-jitsu, right? That's not how a street fight's gonna happen. But at the same time, because you don't have to think about the techniques, then suddenly you can apply it in a real world situation.
You've got more mental bandwidth for the other things.
Exactly.
You don't have to waste energy and time thinking about what you're going to do. You can, or at least insofar as handling the firearm is concerned.
Exactly.
You have that little bit more time to actually take stock of, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Rather than, where's my magazine? Where's my gun? Where?
Everything gets carried away the same place.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yes.
Right.
So whether you're sitting, standing, lying down, shit goes down, you know this is where it's going to be.
Right.
It's not going to be anywhere else. So sports works.
Yeah.
It works. And especially for our Section 13 guys, our defensive shooting guys, our guys that come to the range on a match day and say, no, we can't do this. By all means, you can fucking do it.
Yeah.
And you should be doing it. I know it's expensive. I know we've got round limits and crap like that.
But you don't have to do it all the time.
You don't have to do it all the time.
You can do, and that's, like I said, after we hook up, I'm going to, plan to do one or two, a couple of matches just to get that experience.
You don't have to go the whole hog of being a affiliated member to SAPSA and going away for nationals and stuff like that. But our club has got a club match every Thursday. Our club has got a club match the first Saturday of every month. There's always something happening. There's Steel Challenge every second Sunday. There's always something. So if you want to shoot, and I think personally, guys who are carrying a Section 13 firearm, you need to be on the damn range. Yes, ammo is expensive, I understand. You can reload. It's expensive to start with, but try. Get into a club. Guys will help you out. Obviously, they can't sell.
Yeah.
But if you can organize to go to the house and they teach you how to do it, you can reload for yourself. Reloading doesn't also save you money. Just shoot more.
Yeah. Also, don't be disheartened when you go to a club shoot for the first time and you find out how much you suck.
That's it.
Well,
because if you have a decent club, which I think most of them are, they're going to help you shoot so that you suck less.
Yes. And nobody gives a damn whether you suck or not.
Yeah.
All they care about is that you are there with them on that day.
And you're not flagging anybody.
You're not flagging anybody. You didn't shoot anybody. You didn't shoot yourself. yes, you maybe missed all the bloody targets and you took 60 seconds on a nine round course.
And you shot all the hostages.
And you shot all the hostages. But then again, I mean, nobody cares about that. You will have one guy there, will take you one side, and he will give you a nice little chat and explain to you things, and you will go on. And all we are happy about is that you are there with us.
Yeah.
Whether your intention is to be Springbok shooter or just a guy that needs skills with his firearms. Yes, the thing that I do for the guys, teaching them the basics. You need to start there. And you need to keep on doing that. Right? And then you need to go and join a club. Whether it's IPSC or SATPA or IDPA or whatever, or I think Jonathan and them have some, what do you call it, defensive type club.
Yeah, so my club is affiliated with SATSA, and the emphasis is on realistic shooting. And as we said, realism in this context is a bit of a moving target, pun completely intended. And we don't have the same level of rigidity as, say, IPSC or IDPA has. We do have rules. They're not 300 pages long. And yeah, so we have movement. We do prioritize using cover and realistic movement at that as well, not just the sideways shuffle between targets or backwards and forwards like a Space Invaders game from the 80s. We move backwards, forwards, sideways. The only thing is just don't turn around.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Look, the movement is also not, I mean, movement is also not, it's limited to the range and obviously safety.
Right.
Look, gunfight can happen 360. But unfortunately, we don't have 360 ranges. So I think the maximum range you're looking at is like a 270.
Well, actually, you do have 360 ranges. You'll just get shot by everybody else behind you.
Yeah.
Which is a very one-sided battle.
It's a one-sided battle. But that's why you look, the thing with IPSC, it maybe keeps you locked in a meter square. But it's still, you still got to move in that.
Sure.
Right? You may have a 32 round course where you're actually running around, you're doing a John Wick type of thing. Like from his videos, by the way, let's just look at his at the John Wick training videos at Talent Tactical. All of that shooting takes place on one plane, right? All the targets. Whereas an IPSC shoot will have you. There was one video I posted now the other day on one of my groups. It was Eric Graufel, who was the world champion. This thing was like, start shooting here, ran almost 50 meters to that side, turned around with a gun behind him, came back around this side and shot, and then went over somewhere over there. So that's the athleticism behind it. But remember, if you're going to end up in a gunfight, you're going to have a body alarm reaction.
Yeah.
Right? So that's already being simulated by these movements, because now you're breathing heavily, your heart rate is up, you need to aim, right?
Suddenly everything is shaking.
Everything is shaking.
You're out of breath.
You're out of breath. It's hot. You're sweating. You've got misting up of your goggle, of your eyebrow. So all of those things.
Yeah. It's about the bandwidth.
It's about, you know what? Screw all of that. There's my targets. I need to score them.
Yeah.
Or I need to. Those are the guys that's attacking me. I need to take them down. So
there have been incidents of sport shooters. I mean, that's what's happened now in the last couple of years.
Now look,
there was 2 incidents. I know
one
of.
incident with I think it was just around about COVID.
There was
we took down the four
guys.
We took down the 4 guys. Unfortunately, he passed away. You got killed in that incident, but there was still a sport shooter.
Yeah.
He was on his way to a competitive shoot. So.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's the scary part about living in South Africa. So maybe now with that in mind, I mean, we've chatted about sport shooting, how that can kind of help with self-defense. That's probably actually the main reason why people want to get firearms here in South Africa, right? We live in South Africa. We got one of the highest murder rates in the world.
We're definitely top 5 at this point.
Definitely top 5. And man,
I mean,
Cape Town is fast becoming the capital, right? So maybe for the completely new people who don't know anything but in their mind they're like, I think I need to get a firearm, right? What would those steps entail?
Jonathan?
So even before mentioning the various steps one would go through, the first thing to consider is, do I need one? And maybe you live in a secure. I mean, most of the crime in the country is is concentrated in these specific locations. And so someone that lives in a very safe, quote unquote, safe neighborhood with low crime rates, where only 8 people a year maybe get murdered, sort of thing, they might not see the need. But when you travel, that's a big thing, especially if you live in Cape Town and you want to get from Helderberg to the city center. You're driving past like 3 of the worst murder hotspots in the entire country. And if you have a flat tire or something and you're stuck on the side of the road, do you really just want to sit there and wait?
Look, just to jump in there, I mean, that post on EDC group from Rowan. I mean, he comes from George or Neisner. I mean, he came to Cape Town for an appointment, and he got
yes, I remember. You know? In Tableview or something.
Somewhere, I can't remember exactly where. But
he was near Dunoon.
Yeah, so exactly, Dunoon. Oh my God! So it's not just about having it at home.
Yeah,
because we don't just stay at home. We go out. We travel to work, to friends, to family, to sports. I mean, my mother-in-law lives in Mitchell's Plain.
Yeah, I mean, I had to pick my car up at my mechanic is out in Brackenfell.
Yeah, in an area that's not good.
So I stay in the deep south. So it's like, okay, do I take the N1 all the way around to the City Bowl back down, or do I go R300 and take my take the risk with the R300 and Jake Scherwel to get to Baden-Powell? Do I go back up the N2 in around Baden-Powell? Well. You know what I mean? Or do I go R300 into
But even if you don't really have a need to, like, say, go into a place because a family member lives in Mitchell's Plain or something like that. It's been several cases where I had to get to Cape Town and the N2 was closed because of a very big traffic accident. Right. So they reroute all the traffic through Khayelitsha and all of those areas and Blue Downs, etc., etc. And then what you're going to do? Are you going to turn around, drive all the way back? Or you can't really turn around, can you? You're on the N2.
You're on the N2.
You have to take the first off-ramp and hope that something can work out. Yep. Or you can just push through, just don't stop, sort of thing. Yeah. Or find a taxi to tailgate. They don't mind. They really don't. Because that was my first thought when I had to do one of these detours. I was like, okay, find the first taxi, stick to them, because I have a gun. They almost certainly have a gun. Yeah. This makes me feel better.
So you're using them as a blocker or open up the road for you.
But okay, so I mean,
just, this is the stuff that we've got to go through. Thinking when we want to go out, when we want to exercise our freedom of movement, you've got to think of all of these things. I mean, now I need to get my wife on so that I can drive, and if anything needs to be done, she can do it.
She can do the business.
I can't drive and shoot because that's Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's not realistic.
It's also maybe worth mentioning that a lot of people think, oh, well, how am I going to conceal such a thing? Well, you have a variety of options. You have compacts, you have let's start from the smallest. You have subcompacts, you have compacts, which are, it's a bit of a self-defeating word because even compact firearms can be pretty beefy. Yes. And then you see the full size and you think, oh my goodness, no wonder the average person doesn't own one of those. And you have holster options. Personally, I mean, I have a Glock 19 and I have a Glock 43. That is my EDC now because of how much easier it is to conceal. And that holster is a tuckable holster. And I can I do wear tailored clothing that does not afford me much room to print and things like that. And I conceal just fine. And when people start carrying, they tend to get a little paranoid as well. They're like, oh, even if they're concealing perfectly fine, they're constantly looking down and they're fiddling and they think it's like, just don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, using my Glock 43 in a tuckable holster, for example, the only way you're going to know something is theirs if you really spend a few seconds gazing at my crotch and trying to find what are those little plastic clippy things on the belt, and that's all you see.
And that's the other thing, eh? People don't know what's going on around them.
Yeah.
Unless
they don't pay attention to
they
details.
don't pay attention to details, unless you are a member of the community who, for doing that, is normal.
Yeah.
Looking for bulges, looking for clips where there shouldn't be clips. The general public is oblivious.
Yeah.
I did an interview with a French guy. He was doing a series. This was like tail end of COVID. So he was doing a series about crime in Cape Town. And previous organization I was with, he contacted them, they pushed me down to him. And came to my house. He did like this whole thing where you, from me getting with my kids and taking my kids to school and driving, and you see it all the time on the documentaries. Unfortunately, the day was pouring with rain. We got to False Bay, and Keith had sent me a message, but I'm driving, so I wasn't saying, maybe we must cancel this. I was like, too late, I'm here already. And we got onto the range, and I took out my gun, and he was like, "You got a gun on you?" I didn't know you had a gun on you. Yeah. So, okay, fair enough, it was winter, so I was wearing a couple of layers of clothing as well. But you know what, people, especially European, European people, they don't think that way.
Yeah.
He ended up buying some, what do you call this? One of these G10s.
Oh, yes.
But not the knife, but, you know, just the plastic one.
Yes.
He says, look, I bought this for me for self-defense because obviously I can't, where I go, and at least this can part of the keyring. So I got him thinking about self-defense.
Yeah.
So what the point I'm trying to make is, for the most part, general public is not going to even take a note of have a hard look at you. I mean, you're not going to have guys staring at your midriff.
Yeah.
No. Besides the whole other story behind it. But in general, people just don't, don't take notice of what's going on around them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why people get rubbed and mugged, because they're not taking notice.
Sure.
I was sitting one day in Cavendish, the coffee shop outside, and I was waiting for my wife. And one of these vagrants walking up and down. And it was there by the McDonald's. It open. It was this lady standing there, and I'm watching her. And this vagrant is talking to her. But I'm watching her, and I'm looking at her, and I'm saying,
this lady's going to get
screaming victim.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what? It's just these guys. They some of them are harmless, but you never know. But I mean, some of them are harmless because they're there all the time. They pretty much live there. So he walks past, and I'm keeping an eye on him as well. And he sees me, and he comes straight. I'm sitting on the outside of the car, and I tell him, just stay there. He doesn't want to stay there. He keeps on going. So he's like coming onto the, let's say, the grounds of the restaurant, and I'm just like, fuck off. And he's like, it was like he walked into
what you
a brick wall. He was like looking at me like that, and he like started getting indignant, and he's walking up and down, and he's looking at me, and he's, and that was just verbally.
Yeah.
And being aware of what is going on around you. So,
I mean,
that's part of your self-defense training.
Yeah, being situationally aware.
Situationally aware, using your words.
Yeah.
Now, we did
knowing when to use them.
Knowing when to use them as well. That's important.
Yeah.
I did this.
Now, don't swear at the old lady who's asking for directions.
Yeah, I did this. I think the first time that Craig Douglas, Shift Work South Knock, he was brought to South Africa by James Smart. I was studying jiu-jitsu at the time. And they did a gun stuff. the Saturday, and then the Sunday there was a knife workshop. I did 2 of the knife. Unfortunately, I couldn't manage to do the gun work. And this was in my first course with him. He was talking about this. Swear if you need to swear, but if you're not used to swearing, it's not gonna come.
It's not gonna come across.
So my friends say it's difficult to have a conversation with me because every second word is fuck. So I'm used to swearing. I use it as normal part of my normal conversation.
Yeah.
So for me, it's quite easy, and it doesn't. And I know, depending on the level and the nuance and how I use it, it will show you exactly how I'm feeling. So that if you that's your first line. The first line is that verbal, what they call verbal jiu-jitsu. Just to stop that. Look, it's not going to work all the time because there's going to be a guy that's determined to get at you.
You just make it clear.
Yeah.
I don't have time for your shit.
Yes.
Go away.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like 9 incidents where people get attacked or victimized, let's call it that, is if you had just made that would-be attacker know that you're aware of them, that you see them, that you're not like, I've walked with my wife before, in the past. A lot has changed since 2020, right?
Right.
But where if let's say we went out for dinner in the city and now we must walk to your car, she wants to just put her head down and walk. I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do. Right? That's the worst thing you can do. I'm going to walk there. My head is going to be up. I'm looking around. They're going to know from 20 meters away that they're not going to sneak up on me. I'm going to take it a little bit slower and I'm going to be more sort of intentional. And like Jonathan said, you make eye contact with them, they're a lot less likely to attack you. You're obviously not challenging them, but at the same time,
there was a study that was done.
Yes.
I heard about it. You heard about that study where they showed people, convicts, videos of people. Who would you attack? And it wasn't about the size, and it wasn't about anything. It's about how they held themselves. So if you're slouching over and you're looking down, you're gonna get hit. Females with long hair, hanging loose or stuff like that. And they actually didn't even matter whether it was male or female. It was just how you carried yourself.
Yeah.
So I think what they suggest, what they're saying is, walk purposefully.
Yeah.
With a purpose, normally.
Not too fast, not too slow.
Not too slow.
Just,
be aware of it. They're not going to, they'll back off. But if you're walking, timid and furtively looking around and stuff like that, walk with a purpose. Yeah. So you can
walk confidently.
Confidently.
Yes. You can walk slowly, you can walk fast, but if you walk confidently, it carries a message. Like, I'm on a mission, I'm going somewhere.
Exactly.
Stay out of my way.
Yeah.
So these are the things you're going to get from your defensive trainers. I mean, we've got excellent guys in this country. There's Mark Human, James Smart, Arno Bala up in the north. I don't know about along the coast and so forth. So we've got good guys. I mean, back when I started in guns, it was like really nobody. It was very difficult to get this type of training. So you sort of struggled along and figured things out on the way.
So that actually brings up an interesting point, right? Because there are a lot of people that think just getting a Section 13, that's it. I'm sorted now. But
you visit a club once, it quickly turns into, I need to do this more often.
Yeah. Yes. Look, I mean, the reality is, I mean, I've only been carrying for 3 years, but I still go. Like, I never ever want to be in the situation where I have to use this thing, not because of the ramifications of it, but I'm like, am I going to be able to keep my shit together? I don't know if I am. You know what I mean?
Next time I get you on the course, we're going to.
That's not where you want to be, and it's probably because I'm self-aware about it. You know what I mean? With like having done a little bit of martial arts and whatever, you quickly know that what you don't know matters. You know, like as a musician, we always say, like, when you're going to do a performance, right, you have to be 100% confident in 70% of your ability, right? So if you're not yet you're not going to use things that you haven't mastered, right?
What is it? What is that saying? When you're getting the shit kicked out of you at 2 a.m. in the morning is not the time to learn
to get new skills.
You're not going to get new skills. So the thing is,
when you expose yourself to sport shooting and you do these things, you very quickly learn something that it takes students like 3 years to learn in university when they study philosophy.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. But
Yeah.
when you expose yourself to these difficult situations where, oh no, suddenly I've got a jam. Oh, there's a stovepipe. Oh, my magazine fell out the bottom because I didn't put it in properly.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? And you stand there, you might stand there and stare for like a second or two and then recover. And then when it happens in the future, well, you've already got the skill. Now you don't have to learn it while you're getting the shit kicked out of you.
And the funny thing is that you see this happening on a match by experienced shooters. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
You know, we all go through it. It's just maybe that day you're just not on point with your game, and it happens to you. I mean, top guys have stovepipes. They've got squibs, and you know what? Shit happens all the time. Rather there, and now to get it sorted than at 2 a.m. in the morning, trying to figure out now what. And that's the thing. You need to, especially for the. People are laughing at the sport guys. Why? But you, Section 13, you come every 6 months to the range with 50 rounds.
Yeah.
So you think you're gonna rise to the occasion?
No, 100%.
Not gonna happen. You look. I've
maybe if something goes bump in the night, maybe. But dynamic something like what happened to that other guy just the other day, Rowan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole different story.
Look,
Rowan's an experienced shooter.
Exactly.
Yes.
And he freely admits it. His concentration at that time on that day had lapsed. He hadn't left himself the gap between his car and the one in front of him like he normally did. He wasn't looking around when he was at an intersection like he normally did.
Yeah.
You're human. You will make mistakes. It's how you recover. And in his case, he recovered very quickly and well because he practices these things.
Yeah.
I mean, he practices more than most of us. And I can say for myself, personal experience, it happens to me also.
Yeah.
I
caught myself yesterday just
catch myself.
Why am I not paying attention?
Why are you sitting and staring straight ahead? Fuck, I said, now you start scanning.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, can you catch yourself? Can you realize that you're not doing these things? The only way you do realize that is if you
you don't be paranoid, but
yourself,
you constantly
force yourself to do it. Remind yourself. Eventually, it will just become natural. And we are human. We can't maintain that level ad infinitum. Yeah. We're going to lapse, but you can catch yourself. Hey, I'm lapsing, but you do need that to go down and then up again. You can't stay in that that constantly.
Have any of you had any incidents where obviously we don't need to go into any sort of heavy details, but where you were almost faced with having to either use or present or whatever or anything like that. I mean, if you're comfortable sharing
the coffee shop incident, that was easy diffusing. There was an incident where I actually drew. I had guys had sights in my sights. Was a fleeing vehicle, and as I presented the gun and I stopped because it's a moving vehicle.
Yeah.
And there's houses behind the car. So maintaining that awareness is also important. It's not just about pulling and shooting.
Yeah.
What's rule 4?
Yeah,
know your target and what goes what's beyond it. So you want to sit there on a Saturday night, or I think it was Thursday night or something, and you're watching TV with the kids, and there this bloody bullet comes through your phone. So you've got to think of things like. So I have had opportunity. I haven't discharged.
Yeah.
In anger, I have drawn. We caught the guys an hour later in a different suburb. We actually caught 2 of them breaking. We did We were two that we detained. We caught the one in the car.
Right.
He was detained. He escaped. But we caught the accomplices because when the cops arrived, I gave them the description and how many guys and caught him, I think in Zaahir State.
Okay.
And then I actually walked home. It was during Ramadan, so it was part of the neighborhood watch at the time. So I walked home and to sit on the back step, and as I lit my cigarette, I was like, my whole body just started shaking. So that's where the adrenaline dump that happened. So
yeah,
it is a good thing that it happened.
Yeah. But
afterwards.
Yes.
It didn't happen
in the moment.
In the moment. So that's what happens to people.
Yeah.
They black out and then so forth.
Yeah, that adrenaline dump
it's
is
that adrenaline
scary.
dump. Yeah. So it's not something you can control. Just so from there, I just say, look, when you hear of incidents happening, on the webs, and the guys commenting, you know what? You don't know what you're gonna do in that moment. Think of what you've done in the past, and if there's been incidents where you've been involved. What did you do in that incident? Now, when I was in standard 8, that shows me that's what grade 10 for you youngsters.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, yes. I got robbed and stabbed. I was a blue belt in karate. I was coming home. We actually had a fight that weekend, and I was walking across the field between the two schools, and that field was you cross the field, you get into Hanover Park,
right?
And I was 14, 15 years old, and I got a blue belt in karate. I'm thinking I'm out shit. I'm karate kid, and two guys were coming down, and they split. I don't know.
What do you do
14,
now?
15 years old.
Yeah.
I just kept on walking. The next minute, the guy was on me. Oh, copy. Just a prick. And that one was standing next to me. What's gone? So that was the first incident that I was involved in where I got robbed, and I froze up.
Yeah.
And then after that, the thing is, it's mindset. We also forget about mindset. Mindset's important. Your mindset determines what you're going to do. You can have all the skills, you can be black belt jiu-jitsu, you can be sport shooter. I mean, there's a guy that got grandmaster in IDPA or something in the States, and he got robbed, got shot. Grandmaster shooter. But his mindset was not to preserving life or preserving his life. A damn good shooter. Means nothing if you cannot deploy that and defend yourself.
Yeah.
So mindset is important as well. It's just as important as your physical skills, as your firearm handling skills, your mindset, your situational awareness.
Yeah.
Like James Smart, I'm unashamedly.
I actually want to get him on the pod at some stage because I want to talk to him about a lot of stuff, including dogs.
And when I came back from overseas, there was a course, some street smart course, and I hadn't seen them in ages because him and Gary, I started jiu-jitsu with him. And I walked in and he was like, "Wow, what's going on? I haven't seen you." And like grabbing and hugging, and I mean the other guys that were at the same level, they're now black belts and brown belts. That were part of his course. He said one of the first things he said in that course was, you have to give yourself permission to defend yourself. That's your first step. Yes, we've got the right to life.
Yeah.
And the implicit right, just my layman personal opinion, that
your rights are meaningless if you can't enforce them.
Yeah. So you have a right to firearms. Don't care what they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the same like you have the right to education.
Sure.
But there's no schools. Or you have the right to healthcare, but there's no healthcare facilities.
Yeah.
So the right to life, for me, my layman opinion, implies to me that I have the right
to the tools to
get the tools to use to
best tools
to defend myself with.
Yeah. That's actually a topic that I will cover in my doctoral thesis when I get round to that chapter.
Nice. So maybe that's a good thing